Welcome back to Talking Shop with Shop Saver. I'm Brandon, back with the gang, and we have a new setup here today. We got Travis, we got Nick, Chad, and Kyle over there in the corner. Kyle, I can wave at you now. You're on the other side of the room.
Yes. I can get up in Travis's business and personal space to use his mic. We're within kissing distance. I'm sure he's very comfortable.
It's true, actually. He's like right next to Travis's face, reaching over his shoulder to talk to him.
I'll take a shoulder massage if you want.
And we're all much closer to each other.
I like it. Chad, do you like sitting this close to me?
No. Or anybody, for that matter.
Chad is like right next to me. But you know what? It's nice. I like this new setup we got here. We got our podcast sign now.
It's
pretty
a nice
nice.
sign.
It's a nice sign. I'm really impressed with it.
How'd you make that?
I found a guy with a CNC machine.
Makes a lot of sense.
It makes some sense. Somebody made a comment about how Chad fixed the wall this week. That was cool.
Chad, was it actually you that fixed the wall?
No money got transferred.
Chad did not fix the wall. I couldn't afford him. He's too expensive. I had to fix it myself.
I had to hold Brandon up while he drilled the top drills.
Is that on Chad's shoulders? got to use the power tools at the top shelf. It was awesome. Thanks, Chad. Thanks for lifting me up there.
No problem. Teamwork.
Teamwork makes the dream work. What do we got going on this week, guys? What'd you guys do this weekend? Anything fun?
Me, nothing.
Nothing.
Hung out at the house, get ready for springtime.
Springtime.
Spring forward here.
That's like 3 months away, dude. Why are you planning so early?
We spring forward this weekend.
Is it this weekend?
Is it really?
Oh, yeah.
This weekend, spring forward time?
Absolutely.
Lord.
Oh no,
I
I
had no
lose.
idea.
That means I lose an hour of sleep. Is that right?
It means we gain an hour of sunlight.
But
True.
then the kids' sleeping schedule's all messed up.
Yeah, I
and
know,
they're
that's what
wonky for like 2 weeks.
I love that. That's where I
It's
went
really
to.
a thing.
It's
Don't
really,
have kids. Don't have kids.
A little late for that.
Don't have kids. Okay. Well, what's the return policy on the 2 I have? Because I already made that mistake, I guess. So yeah, we got. I didn't realize that was this daylight
I
savings is
honestly
this
didn't either.
weekend.
No.
Will we just get rid of daylight savings already?
It'd make a lot of sense, wouldn't it?
Can we just stop doing this change in the clock? It takes me 6 months to realize what time it is, and then you change the time on me again. This is ridiculous. And half the clocks in my house I don't even know how to set.
And then it takes, you get them all fixed for like a week, so you're constantly wondering what time it really is.
Man, that's not cool.
I just got to change the microwave and the oven. Everything else is auto setting.
Ooh, everything else is auto setting. My name's Travis. Well, mine aren't.
Alexa, change the time.
Alexa, change the time. If she could do that, my house would be messed up. My kids
Now,
would.
all the people listening to this, like out loud at their house, are going to be mad because their Alexa's asking them what they're doing.
Alexa, go to shopsaver.com. There we go. Hopefully that worked. Do you remember when that commercial came on in the Super Bowl? And they had the Alexa thing?
I thought you were talking about the Tubi.
Oh, that was
commercial or
pretty
whatever.
fun
was
this
good,
year. Yeah, everybody screamed at their TVs, "Why are you changing the channel?" But no, that one year that Alexa was like relatively new and they did the Alexa thing and it made everybody's Alexas in their houses go off. It was pretty awesome. But yeah, no, it was pretty cool. But yeah, this weekend I played a lot of hockey with the kids. We're getting down to the end of the year. It's
Springtime.
springtime, as Chad says. No, it's the end of the season. We got 1 or 2 weeks left of hockey. My boys had a tournament this weekend, so we spent the weekend with their hockey team in a hotel. Nothing ever goes wrong when you have 15 hockey players together in a hotel.
In Minnesota, or do you travel?
Yeah, we were in Minnesota this weekend. Yeah, we were actually not that far away from home at all. Actually, we were in Blaine.
So you didn't just drive home.
It's the game times is the main reason. Like Friday night we drove home, but Saturday night the whole team stayed up there for the most part, and a lot of it's just about the team bonding and yeah, you know. I don't know. I had a good time with the boys though. Obviously they got to do some swimming. That was fun.
In
Caden
the
got to
hot
be.
tub.
Yeah, they were in the hot tub. I didn't go in the pool. The kids got to go. So I'm not jumping in the pool with 15 hockey players. Sorry, I'm gonna get hit with a ball in the face or a football or whatever. But no, I got to. Caden played goalie one game and got to skate out 2 games. So that was fun. Scored 2 goals, and I think he gave up 36 in the one game he played goalie. It was a bad game for him. Sad part is he wasn't any worse than the other goalies. The team we played on Friday was a bunch of ringers. They were very good. What about you, Travis? What'd you do this weekend?
Celebrated the boys' 7th birthday. So,
Woo, 7? How is he 7 already?
I know.
My God.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is crazy. He's 7
Because
already.
he was pretty fresh when I first
yeah,
started
he was.
here.
He was fresh. Yeah, he was fresh when you
Fresh out the womb.
Yeah, when you started here, man, he was. I don't even think he was 1.
No.
He was 0 years old.
Yeah,
Is
him
that
and
a
I
number?
ripped around on the 4-wheeler, just beating up the snow drifts at the house, and
That's
drove
cool.
the RC car, drove the little pit bike around. We just pissed off the town pretty much.
True Travis fashion.
Yep.
What about you, Nick? Anything fun?
Me and Stella did some Girl Scout cookie booths on Saturday. Sold a bunch of cookies. She's got goals to reach. and
She's got goals.
Trying to get there.
I like it.
So now we did that on Saturday. Threw some ribs on the smoker on Sunday. My parents came over for dinner. That's pretty.
I noticed
low-key.
that. I saw the Snapchats that you sent me of it. I just didn't notice any of it here at work for me to eat.
There
Yeah,
was,
that's
there
where I
was
was-
none left.
Unbelievable.
It's unacceptable.
Yeah, like you didn't think like, hey, guys, you can't eat these ones. These ones are for the guys.
I blame Natalie.
I blame Natalie.
Does she listen to this?
Oh yeah, sometimes.
Natalie,
She'll
he's
slide.
blaming you.
Natalie, we need you to buy more ribs next time.
Yeah, Natalie, we need double the rib order next time. Thank you. Sincerely, all of us. Yeah, so anyways, I know last week we talked a little bit about new and used equipment. How'd that go for you guys? Anybody comment on that this week for you?
Couple people.
Yeah, talking a little about used and new.
Yep.
You know, I think that conversation in general just, it's going to keep happening. You know, people are going to want to keep talking about new and used equipment, and it's just kind of part of the world we live in right now. But, I thought we should talk this week a little bit about, why you should ask or why you should be asking more questions right now. I think that the world we're in, asking questions can be a major difference maker in a decision or in a product that you end up with. And, I thought this week that would be a good episode. So, I wanted to chat to you guys about it. And, again, a lot of people in the world today are making assumptions, I feel like. And, the one asking the questions is likely to be the most intelligent when they're done. You're going to learn the most. And, asking questions does not mean you're uneducated, in my opinion. I think if you look at the one asking the questions, a lot of times they learn the most, and they are probably the most serious about understanding the discussion that they're partaking in, right? And so I guess before I get started, what's your guys' thoughts on asking questions?
I always ask a ton of questions when I purchase stuff, and I enjoy when customers ask me a ton of questions because it makes them seem they're interested, they want to learn more, and I want to teach them. The same thing when I go into places about buying a TV, with all the different style TVs. Like, I want to talk to somebody who knows what the newest technology is.
Exactly, because if you walk in to buy that TV and you just assume you know it all, like
I didn't know curved TVs weren't a thing anymore. Like,
Right?
Curved monitors are, but I was going to go get a curved TV, and I asked the guy, and he's like, yeah, nobody does that anymore. He's like, oh, so what's the new thing? And he's like, oh, yeah, let's do this. And we looked at it, asked a bunch of questions, and I got my TV.
for the record, your TV's sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Super awesome TV. I saw it when we were at your house the last time, and yeah, it's pretty awesome. But you're right. Like, you just assume that you know something, right? Like, again, the curved TV conversation. Like, I was the same way. Like, I was, thinking curved TV was the latest and greatest things, and the same thing when we went to buy our new TV. Like, there was 0 curved TVs.
0. It was
Yeah.
surprising.
Like, just nobody's doing it anymore. I'm like, oh, okay, that's not a thing anymore. But even on the cell phones, I think when you look at cell phones, remember when they were doing the curved edges?
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I don't see that a lot. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like that's not a thing anymore either. Like the curved edge, where they were taking it all the way to the edge. Like, it's just not something you see a lot. So I think that, again, asking questions, even though you might know a lot about a topic or you might feel like you know a lot about a topic, it's not necessarily a bad thing to still ask, is what I'm thinking to be true, right? Ask the question. Give them a chance to, even if you think you're right, hear what they have to say.
Yeah, that person's in the industry. They do it every day.
Yeah.
It's their job.
For sure. What about you, Travis? What do you think?
Well, when we're talking about CNC in particular, a lot of customers don't ask a lot of the questions that they should. I'll talk to customers. It's the first time we're on a phone call, and they'll say, I'm down to all these U.S. manufacturers, and they'll list 3 of them. And I'm like, sir, honestly, they're all Chinese. You know, so they probably didn't ask the questions to those companies, or those companies were being untruthful to them. But, something like that, when they come down to their decision, they really have no idea what they're buying sometimes. So I would just say personally, you need to ask a lot more questions about what you're buying and why you're buying it. Especially like the drill block thing. We hear it all the time. Customers like, I need a drill block. You really don't. Not always.
Understanding why you need it, right? I mean,
Correct.
That's the thing. Let's talk about real fast, the loaders and unloaders conversation. Is that not one of those situations,
For
right?
sure.
That comes up lately.
Yep.
People just assume they need a loader unloader. I got to have it. Have to have it. But if you ask questions, like we do it, we ask them questions. Why? Why do you think you need that? And then they don't really have a good answer. It's just, I was told I need one. Okay, well, why? And they can't answer that. So then let's start to understand what you do, and let's explain why or why not. Let's start to understand that. So that's my opinion. But no, that makes sense too. Like you said, drill blocks, loaders, unloaders. There's so many. High definition plasma is another one.
Yep.
People swear they have to have a high def plasma. Then you start talking about what they're cutting and the tolerances they're trying to achieve, and it's like, you don't need to have a high def.
Right.
Again, I'm not here to waste your money. I'm not going to tell you to buy something you don't need.
Exactly.
I guess that's the difference in who we are, though, right? We're not commission paid, so we don't have to tell them to buy something they don't need. I mean, it's an easier sale for us to talk them out of something anyways.
Truly goes to show. I
Yeah.
mean, we're trying to tell you not to buy a 100K plus table because
Correct.
you don't necessarily need it.
Yeah, I don't want to waste your money. I
Right.
don't want the last thing I want is you to buy a machine and it to be wrong.
Yep.
That's not good for us. What about you, Nick? Any thoughts or feedback on asking questions?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously asking questions are great because, like you guys said, a lot of these people are buying machines for the first time and aren't exactly sure what they need or what they're going to have coming to them. And I think for me personally, people that ask me questions still being new to this job, it helps me learn new things too, right? Like,
Yep.
I come to you guys every once in a while, ask you, questions that are seemingly simple from them, but I have no idea what the real answer is. So
Yeah.
it's helping me educate myself by them asking me questions about those things, and also asking questions up front. Like, yeah, your machine's not going to be there for another month or 2 months, but asking questions ahead of time as far as like what's going to happen when my machine arrives or what's going to happen with the shipping. Like, just educating those people on those types of things on the simple. I mean, it's the simple stuff for us.
Yeah.
But things that they're, dealing with for the first time. So definitely ask more questions so you know kind of what's going on and aren't surprised by anything.
Yeah, and I think, a big part of what you just said there was, it helps educate you as well. Well, I think the same can be said for sales guys too, right? I mean, you guys know a lot about this industry, but how many times has somebody asked you a question and you went to look for that answer and it helped you understand something, right? Yep. I mean, even yourself, like, hey, I don't know the answer, but I'm going to find it for you. And it allows us to self-educate as well. I'll talk to the technician or I'll go talk to the engineering team or whoever we need to talk to. Chad, you and I have done it, with specialty projects, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't necessarily know the answer out of the gate, but we'll say, hey, we'll get back to you with it. And it helps us better ourselves as well, but that also helps us provide you better service because now we understand it even further than we did at the beginning of the question, right?
Everybody's a winner.
Everybody. Hey, I like that. Everybody's a winner. But yeah, for me, for myself personally, I use questions to understand a process or a product or a situation, right? In reality, I deal with some uncomfortable situations once in a while, right? I mean, that's kind of my job. I deal with the stuff when somebody needs help beyond the traditional. I mean, we have a really good team here, but when somebody needs to escalate something, needs something going on, a lot of times that's where I get involved. I have to ask questions to understand their situation. What are you trying to accomplish? Where are we coming from? How did we get here? Questions to me is how I bring myself up to speed and bring myself up to the full capabilities of my skills. I can't use my skills if I don't understand what I'm trying to accomplish, right? And so I like when people ask me questions, obviously politely, of course, not rudely. There are people who ask questions with a negative demeanor, but I feel like, it helps carry the conversation or understand the context of a topic, right? If somebody's asking questions, it helps me kind of guide the conversation so that they're getting the information they expect. If you don't say much to me, I don't know what you're really looking to talk about or what you really want to understand, especially in sales. That's a really hard thing to do. Like if somebody's not willing to have, open conversation with you, it can be really hard to provide them good content, right?
Absolutely.
Some people get annoyed by questions. I mean, let's be honest. There's people out there that don't like questions. Those people probably shouldn't be in sales or customer service. That's my honest opinion. Like if you don't want to ask questions, if you don't want to be asked questions, then you need to find something else to do for a living. Because if you're in sales or you're in customer service, you should expect questions to be asked your way. And, I'm one of those people who truly enjoy having the opportunity to help people understand something and help them educate themselves. That's just kind of who I am. And, that said, I don't like people who ask questions, but then don't listen to the answer, though. I'll be honest. That drives me nuts.
Or ask you the same question 5 minutes later.
Yeah, because you're just not listening, like, yeah, it drives me nuts. I'll be honest. If you're unwilling to consider the information that's being shared with you, or you're going to not make the time to actually listen to the question or the answer to the question, then don't ask the question. I mean, that's that. I do feel that way. Like that can be a part where it's like, well, why does this work? And then you give them the information, and then 5 minutes later, but why does that work? I just gave you the information. Oh, I didn't hear it. I'm sorry. Can you do it again? Like I just gave you all the information.
Right.
But, rarely do I buy products, like you said, Chad, without asking questions. I should take that back. I don't ask questions when I'm going to the grocery store just to buy groceries. Like, I traditionally know what I'm looking at. But even that, if I'm looking for something, I go ask questions, right?
Yeah, and if it costs over a certain dollar amount, like your everyday necessities.
But that's my point. I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to imply that I ask questions for everything because I don't. I go buy gas and I just buy gas. I don't ask questions. But I do think that I do ask a lot of questions when it comes to things that I have little experience in or don't frequently buy. Even if I have experience with it, but I don't do it often. I still, like, perfect example, had to buy a new Wi-Fi router for my house. Had to buy one 2 weeks ago because my other one went down. And I feel like I understand the internet. I know how to use the internet, but I don't understand like the technology that goes into Wi-Fi routers, right? And the magic. I mean, shoot, what happened to the discs, the AOL disc with like minutes on it?
I don't think they call it the internet. It's the World Wide Web.
The WWs. I mean, you're not wrong, right? It is definitely the World Wide Web. Although I don't think anybody calls it that. I think they actually call it ShopSaber.com. I think that's what they refer to it as.
But it's the www before the ShopSaber.com.
Nope, it's just ShopSaber.com. You make that your homepage, and then you go from there. It's a good idea.
That'd work.
Yeah, everybody go to ShopSaber.com and make that your homepage today. But yeah, I mean, I don't understand Wi-Fi like that, though. So when I walked in and there's like 12 different Wi-Fi routers, I'm like, I don't know which one I need.
Yeah, with that, I wouldn't know where to start either.
Yeah, the guy was like, what do you have now? I'm like, a black one. He's like, okay. Does it have antennas? I'm like, yes, 3 of them. He's like, okay, we're getting somewhere. He's like, what brand? I'm like, not a clue. No idea what I have in my house. He's like, okay, this is going well. I'm like, how about this? Let me ask some questions. He's like, that works sometimes. I'm like, which one do you have? And then he's like, oh, I got this one, the mesh, this. And I'm like, okay, well, I shouldn't have asked you that question anymore. I'm like, okay, why do you have that one? He's like, I like to game. I'm like, I do not need to game. I need my internet to work. He's like, you don't have kids? I'm like, I have 2. He goes, they need a game. I said, okay, we're back to gaming. And then we had a gaming one. And then we started talking. And then he's like, well, what about you and your wife? What do you guys do? I'm like, we watch TV, and she works, and I work. He's like, okay, do you guys work from home ever? I'm like, yes. He's like, do you guys watch TV while working at home? I'm like, yes. Is that a trick question?
Of course.
I'm like, yes. And he's like, does your kids play video games while you're... I'm like, okay, seriously, why are you grilling me right now, man? Like, I don't know what's going on here. No, but in all seriousness, like, he asked me all these questions, and I kept asking questions back. Like, oh, okay, if I do this, I do this. By the time we were done, like, I ended up with, he wanted to know, like, how many square foot my house was, and we figured out the stuff, and he's like, okay, this is what you need. And I'm like, okay, cool. And I bought it, and I went home, and I plugged it in, and it's the first time in my life that I plugged something in, and it actually worked. Like, I shouldn't say that. First time in my life with a Wi-Fi router that I plugged it in and actually, like, the last time I did this, it was like, I felt like a computer hacker, for the record. I was sitting there like, oh yeah, I got to put in this IP thing, my MAC address, and look at me. I felt like I was breaking into the nuke codes there, but I wasn't, for the record. Anybody listening, I was not doing that. But yeah, my Wi-Fi just powered up, and it was like, welcome to your Google Home. I have Google Home now, guys, in case you're wondering. Don't know what that means, but I have that. And yeah, it worked out pretty sweet. So now I got Wi-Fi, and it works really well. But again, I had gone into it with the understanding that you just have like a router like I had before. And now I have like these 3 little hub things, and I don't know. They call it a mesh network. It's pretty cool.
Sounds fun.
It's pretty awesome. It works. I have even Wi-Fi distribution throughout each room. How cool is that? If I walk from one room to the other, it connects to the closest, what they call a node. And so your internet strength never deteriorates wherever you move in your house.
Seems kind of weird.
It's super cool.
So is it the same as a Wi-Fi extender?
Kind of. Yeah, it's kind of like that, but it's better.
I had to do this something similar, but definitely not as prestigious as yours. And I hate Wi-Fi routers for the
It's not
record.
that prestigious. It's like the normal now. You know what's really awesome? I get really good YouTube on the toilet.
Nice.
It doesn't cut out.
No
any-
buffering.
Doesn't buffer anymore.
great.
It's great.
I had to put a Wi-Fi extender in my basement because I didn't get any reception
Racing
down there.
videos for days without any buffering. It's awesome.
But yeah, once you start talking about that, like you said, you got to find somebody who knows what the hell they're talking about. Because
Yeah.
they ask you, how many Wi-Fi pieces do you have in your house?
Peace.
Then all of a sudden you start
Peace be with
thinking
you
like
too.
you got like 12 different things hooked up to it and you didn't even know it.
That's right.
Which is cool. My app on my phone tells me how many things are hooked up to my Wi-Fi.
I
You
got
know-
the TP Link app.
You know what's awesome about my TP? Hey, TP Link. I owned one of those. That's what I had.
That's what I got.
When the guy said, "What do you have?" and I said, "No idea." And I got home and I had that thing,
Yeah.
a TP Link.
Yep.
I
You
thought-
can, you can just click the off button on your kids and like,
Yeah, it's
"What's
awesome.
happening?"
It's the greatest thing ever. I
Absolutely.
do it to my kids. I'm like, "Hey boys, time to get washed up. It's bedtime." And then they play the "I didn't hear you" game. You know, like, "Oh, I'm just gonna act like Dad didn't say anything." I'm like, "Boys, time to get washed up." Didn't hear Dad. Internet's off. How'd that
Strike
work
three,
out?
internet's out.
How'd that work? And then now I can set like regulations. I can regulate on my kids, and at 9 o'clock it just shuts everything down. Like they are not staying up past 9. I don't care what happens. Dead. Woo!
Pretty soon, kids are gonna figure out a way to hack through that and get the internet back too.
Not in my house. Not in my house.
But how do you get on the internet? Do you have like a password?
No, like I can shut certain devices down. I can it knows their IP addresses.
So yours is like the master device.
Well, any device that I don't regulate can stay connected.
It's
There
just
has
an,
to be
it's
a
just
way
an
around
app.
it.
But like it basically takes their connected devices. Like so I have Caden's iPad. And you know, like it knows what his devices are once they're connected. And then I can put on there, this device disconnects every day from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. So even if he tries to wake up in the middle of the night and power his iPad up, like it works, but like it doesn't have an internet connection.
I'm gonna work on getting Caden internet past 9.
Other weaknesses, we're slow learners and we're not particularly good listeners.
It's not a good idea.
Just give them Wi-Fi hotspot from your cell phone. Be like, Caden, I'll be outside your window at 9 p.m.
No, no, no.
Whoa. For the record,
Not like that.
Nobody
Not
should
like
be
that.
out my kid's window at 9 p.m.
I don't know what you do down in your city, Travis, but I am not hanging out a kid's window at night.
Jesus.
Appreciate the suggestion.
Yeah. Oh, that escalated quickly, didn't it, Chip?
Yep.
Oh,
Foot in mouth.
that was awesome.
That usually happens later in the episode.
Yeah, usually we don't make it this soon. That's
I see your lips moving, but I can't make out the words. I'm deaf.
that was awesome.
Good icebreaker.
Yeah, so I guess what we really should talk about here is the who, what, where, why, and when. And this is a good option for us to talk about. But no, I mean, when you are making decisions for your business, and you know, like in my case, Wi-Fi router, right? It's important to remember what we learned as kids, right? We learned the who, what, where, why, when. I mean, was that not something that we all were taught to ask, right? And especially when you're investigating something, right? You're trying to learn something. And, you know, products you choose and decisions you make are something that should go through these processes. I mean, it's a good sales rep will love to go through these with you. I'm confident of that. Chad, you spoke to it earlier. You love when people ask you those questions, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so, you know, as you go through those, you know, if you cannot get the information to these questions, perhaps you need to do more investigation, right? Because I'd be more concerned why somebody can't answer some of these questions, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is, it's going to maybe help. What's the word I'm looking for? I guess that would help kind of, you know, show the true, you know, professionals from the pretenders, if you will, right? Anybody can fake and tell you what they're supposed to tell you and what's supposed to be on a piece of paper in front of them and read the sales jargon that they have, right? Hey, this is the greatest product ever, blah, 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 you know? But like you start asking questions and something that's not on their sheets. They don't know how to answer those questions, right?
Yep.
So the who, what, where, why, when is things that is going to show you how much does that person that you're talking to really know first, right? And, you know, for me, who makes the product? Or who are you looking at choosing, right? If you're buying services, you know, find out who that person is or what they are. You know, for us, you know, when you talk about ShopSaver, who is ShopSaver, right? We could tell you who we are. We could tell you about the product, right? And, then you kind of got to get into the, what are they proposing? What do they want from us? Or what are we deciding on, right? So the what are we doing, right? In our case, we sell CNC machines. We're selling solutions, right? Some people, my case with my recent story was the what was a Wi-Fi router, right? That's what I'm buying is a Wi-Fi router. That's why I was buying internet. Like, hey, my internet's not working in my house. I got to get the internet working again. Like, I know I need a router. And that to me is really, a big question. And then the where's the product going to take place or coming from or going to affect? The where, what did we buy? Who did we buy it from? And where is this decision going to affect us? If you buy a CNC router, as an example, a Shop Saver router, where is this going to take place? Well, we're going to build it here in the United States. We're going to build it here in Minnesota. And then it's going to come to your facility. And ultimately, where are you going to put it? Where does this fit in your business? Where is this going to be used on a daily basis? There's a lot of wheres that, you need to consider. And then why? Why are you looking at making a decision in the first place? What brought you to this phone call, right? Or to going to the internet? That's something that I kind of find humorous sometimes. We get people that reach out to us and then they act like they don't know why they have an interest in the machine. Like, you had something. Something brought you to the website, right? Why? Well, I just thought it was cool. There's your why, right? At least we know now. It's because you thought it was cool. Or I saw this ad that caught my attention. Okay, why did that catch your attention? What about it got you there? Understanding why you think you need this. As Travis mentioned earlier, the drill head, right? Why?
Right.
Why do you need the drill head? Why do you think you need that? Or the unloader loaders? Why do you need them? There's so many things for you to ask. The why, to me, is one of the biggest questions that you should be going through. Because to me, why are you choosing something or why are you leaning a certain way helps you understand, am I being sold a product or am I being sold a solution or the answer? Because I think that in itself, like, I've done it. Have you seen the new electric Mustang? You guys
I saw
seen
a
that?
video on it.
There's like an electric Mustang now. It's like a SUV actually.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. It's like the E-Mustang or whatever they call it, but it's been out a little while now. But like, everybody thinks of electric vehicles, you think of Tesla, right? So I was at this hockey tournament a couple weeks ago and we had a break between games, like, I don't know, an hour. And I was driving and I saw an E-Mustang sitting on the lot. So I pulled in. I wanted to look at it. And the sales guy come walking out. And he straight up said to me, "Why are you looking at this?" And I was like, honestly, just because it's kind of cool that it's an electric. I just want to see what it's about. Like, it looked cool. Like, it was a different color. I mean, it was a pretty bright color. Chad, are you okay over there?
Did you take it for a test drive?
Chad had to adjust his mic, and he was trying to do it sneakily.
Trying to extend it out so I could just lean back
Chill.
and not have to lean forward to talk. I used to have the wall that I
know.
could rest on. Now I have
A springy
the flimsy
chair.
back.
Springy chair. We gotta get him a new chair.
Just, we got to reposition the stable.
We gotta fix this. We gotta fix this. But no, so it was. So I did. Took it for a test drive, Chad. Like,
Did you really?
Yeah, I did. I jumped in and I was like,
Was it fast?
He came up to me and he's like, "Oh, you want to drive it?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm not gonna say no to that question."
Right.
I'm like, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "Perfect. I'll go get the keys." He went and got it. We jumped in it. We took it for a test drive. It was the slowest car I've ever driven. I think it was terrible.
That's surprising.
I was really disappointed.
It's a typical Ford thing, actually. Surprised you didn't know that.
It was nice shot. I like that. Nice shot. For the record, my wife drives a Ford and I drive a Ford. So Travis likes to make his shots at us when he gets his chance. So I was talking to him about it and we were driving it and it was a GT sport model. And even the sales guy, we got in the car and we got to the red light and he's like, "When the light turns green, just nail it." And I was like, this guy's cool. Like, he wants me to beat the heck out of this car. And I'm like, cool. Light turns green. I mashed it to the floor. We did not feel like we went fast enough. I was like, where's the rest of the power? Even the sales guy was like, "Did you put it all the way to the floor?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Huh, that did not feel fast at all." I was like, no, it did not. He's like, "I really expected that to be more." I was like, "Obviously you have not driven in this vehicle either." So we kind of joked about that, but like, comparably to the Tesla, when you do that in a Tesla, like, it goes, like, you feel it, especially in the sport models. I did not feel it the way I mean, and I'm not joking, you guys. I felt like my wife's SUV accelerated as fast.
That's crazy.
It just did not feel like it should have. And I was really disappointed.
I've drove the Chevy like Volt and Bolt,
Yeah.
and they're both pretty quick when they're on like the electronic. The Bolt's full electronic. The Volt is partially.
Okay.
But when it's in the electronic mode, they get up and go.
Yeah, this thing didn't. I mean, don't get it was fast. But like if I compare it to other vehicles I've driven, it wasn't that impressive. I wasn't that impressed
Like
by
when
it.
you think of a Mustang, you think it's going to be fast.
Well, it's even that. It's when I think of electric vehicles,
Right.
I think like electric is supposed to be instant power. You know, like it didn't feel that way. It didn't. I don't know. Maybe this one was broken. I don't know. But it was funny when the sales guy even was like, "Was that all the way to the floor?" Like, yeah, no, I promise. I was trying to Fred Flintstone that thing. But yeah, so we drove it. But anyways, my point is, you know, why? He asked the questions. Why are you looking at this? And I straight up told him, you know, I thought it was just something I wanted to see. I wanted to see what it's all about. You know, obviously I drive my pickup every day to work, and there might be a need one day for me to consider not driving a pickup to work every day. You know, it's maybe not the most efficient vehicle for me to be cruising around in. And as that truck gets more miles, it just means I'm going to spend more money down the road to replace that truck because I do need a truck to pull the trailer. So it makes sense to get a commuter vehicle or get something. And again, it was just one of those things where it caught my attention, and it will not be that car that I will be buying.
You should get a Geo Metro.
I actually would love to get that old Honda that you had. That thing was sweet.
The gold one.
Yeah.
Like the huge windshield.
I just want one because I think you used one tank of gas the entire time you worked at Shop Saver with that thing.
I remember I drove to.
Wasn't
like
it white?
3/4. No, it was gold.
Oh, I thought it was white.
I feel like it was too. That's weird.
Oh, you talking about the one when I started?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The one I had to yank you out of the ditch.
That POS was
I want
white.
that thing. I want that. 'Cause I think you
I
used
thought
one.
I had a 1988 Honda Civic once. I thought back at like the Saturn days.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that's what you're talking about. I drove to Madison, Wisconsin, and back in like 3/4 tank of gas.
So that's what I want.
240-pound dude in a 500-pound car.
Dude. You know what that's funny. You know what I really want, Chad, is from the old days when we worked at Saturn. I want the old SLs. Those things got like ridiculous gas mileage.
Talk about used equipment going for too much. There's an SL on this Facebook group I'm a part of. The dude was asking $2,500 for like a '96 Saturn SL.
Dude.
I about fell out of my chair laughing.
Those things were sweet. Like, you get such good gas. Like, I honest to God want something like that. Just give me a heater for the winter, AC for the summer, and something I bomb around in. Like, I want something that, like, if something flies out in front of me, I don't even have to brake. I don't care. Like, it's so cheap. Like, yeah, we're going to hit that. That doesn't matter. You know, like, I want that kind. Like, I just want to drive something that's efficient and, like, makes sense, practical.
Yeah, but you can't get those $500 cars anymore.
You can't. That's the problem.
The cash for clunkers or whatever nonsense.
Screwed
ruined that.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I want the $500 cars back.
Those all my first cars were $500.
Dude.
$500. Now
I loved them.
I bought a car one time for $50. No joke. The only thing wrong with it was the ring gear. Somebody was turning the key when it was already running, so there's a couple teeth missing. So every once in a while, you'd have to touch it a few times. But thing ran and drove like freaking champ, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we worked at Saturn, I bought a Saturn. The transmission had blown up in it. And the gal who had it was like, "Oh, I'll just take it to the scrapyard." I'm like, "I'll buy it from you." She's like, "Give me $200." I'm like, "Done." So I gave her $200 and I put a transmission in it myself. And then I turned it into a race car. I did. I took the windows out of it, made it into a race car. I gave it to my brother, to Chris. I gave it to him to race spectator drags at Elko Speedway. He made 2 laps and it blew up on the way home from the racetrack. He made 2 laps, pulled into the pits. I don't know. He got his butt kicked by a Mustang or something. And on the way home, he blew it up, called me, and he's like, "Oh, I blew the car up." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "There's no oil in it." Neither one of us checked the oil, ever thinking we should check it after buying it. Blew it up. I had it for like a week. It was the best $200 I ever spent, though. My brother got to race in it, and we just, like I said, nobody cared about it.
Even if it had oil in it when you bought it, 500 miles later, it probably burnt it all up anyways.
Isn't that the truth? Those things used oil like crazy. But yeah, I mean, that's like the thing. Like, that's where my story kind of went from, is I was just trying to look for a car, and, obviously I'm just looking for something, and I'm just trying to keep costs down for commuting, But completely off topic there, but that was the why. Obviously, again, there's other decisions to be made when we look at products and things, and it's when will we be making a decision? When do you want to do something? When will the decision take effect? When are you going to receive it, right? Lead times are something you have to consider, right? When will I see parts if I need parts? That's another thing. People don't ask that question, right? Everybody assumes the world is perfect and they're going to get their new machine and they're never going to need anything.
It's going to fly off the truck and land
Yeah.
right in the shop and
Yeah.
hook up its own power.
Like, you need to think about these things, like there's a thing to consider here, like the who, what, where, why, when, right? But even that, we hear people. I had a customer, he emailed us the other day and he was telling us how he bought, a handful of products overseas, and it just blows me away because like you ask questions and they didn't know any of the answers. Well, what do you do when this happens? Or when are you going to see this? Or, oh, I don't really know, but they told me it's going to be really good. Well, they're not going to tell you it's going to be really bad.
They're using name brand stuff, but it's just name brand.
Yeah. Like
Every
what name
brand has a name.
Yeah. What name?
Every motor has a name.
Yeah. It's a name brand. But yeah, that's the thing is, sometimes these simple questions can lead to bigger and better discussions, right? I guess what's your guys' thoughts about the who, what, where, why, when? I mean, what do you guys think about it?
I mean, I feel like from my perspective, I hear you guys a lot of times. It seems like somebody will like jump right to the end of the questions, and you guys are kind of like, whoa, let's back up a minute and see why you really feel like you need this giant machine, when in reality you might be able to spend half as much money on the machine you actually need, and not something that you just think you want because it has all the bells and whistles that you don't need.
Well, my buddy has it. It's like, well, your buddy probably does something different than you.
Yeah.
100%. It happens all the time. Guy will come in, quote request for IS 510, for instance, and the guy wants to make signs. Okay. Well, what size sheets are you working with? They're usually going to be 4x8 90% of the time. Well, then that's where they jump ahead thinking they need that table, and they don't.
Yep.
You start talking about how vacuum works. You start talking about power, what you're going to require for space. They're like, okay, never mind. Now we do need a 4x8. So, like, if you would have just went with where the customer wanted to go, you spend 30, 40 minutes in a conversation and then have to start back at square one again.
I agree.
I agree. That's funny. No, but I mean, everything you're saying there is the truth of that, because again, people try to accelerate. I think in today's world, everybody really wants to be faster than they should be, right? And as you start looking at it from a standpoint of, I got to start at step 1. But if you try to jump to step 6, I miss steps 1 through 5. And then when I get the product, well, why didn't you tell me about that? Well, we skipped steps 1 through 5. I didn't even get a chance to tell you that because you jumped into it assuming you knew everything. And there comes a point where I can only slow you down so much, right? I could try to help, but at the same token, like, I know that you're going to get annoyed at me and mad at me, and then you might not buy anything from me if I force you to do something you don't think you need to do.
Yep.
So I'm kind of at your mercy of what you're going to allow me to go through, right? And if you say to me, oh no, I just need this. Okay, well then we've skipped steps 1 through 5. You are taking it into consideration that you know more than me at this point, and that's fine. But then don't get upset later on when that backfires.
Right.
Maybe I should have slowed down and listened to you, right? I mean, it does happen. Fortunately, most of our customers tend to buy from us because of the process. They want to go through it. We don't run into that a lot, but it does happen occasionally where somebody just, this is what we need, and I don't care. Nothing else matters. Just quote me this. Okay.
Something as silly as air. A lot of people don't realize that some of these machines need air.
Yes.
And you ask them, do you have an air compressor? Yes. And then they just want to move past it. It's like, well, what do you have? Oh, it's just one of those that you run an air nailer off of. It's like a pancake compressor. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So if I would have just said, okay, this guy's got air and just move on, he would have been very upset when he gets to the machine and it's not going to work.
Well, that's exactly it. There's everything you say can be interpreted different ways, right?
Yep.
When you look at things, we don't have to make it an interrogation, right? Have you guys ever felt like some people just ask questions like they're interrogating you?
For sure.
Like, whoa, slow down. I'm not forcing you to talk to me, right? Again, I'm here doing my job. If you're going to come at me that way, it probably doesn't make me want to be involved in that conversation a lot, right? It doesn't make me want to ask more questions because I feel like everything I say you're going to interrogate me on. But let's have a conversation on it, right? Have you guys been in those situations where you felt like you're being interrogated?
It happens.
Yeah, periodically.
Yeah, but what comes to mind for me is when this happens is that the person is working against me. And it's the same thing. Like, I'm not interrogating you. Like, I ask questions with a purpose. Hey, I want to know about this because of this, right? It helps me because you probably get frustrated too if I'm just asking you a million questions and not explaining why I'm asking questions, right? But, you know, I don't want to enter into a deal where there's hostility right from the get-go, right? I mean, I think that's something you have to take into consideration too. Just being honest with me and open, give me a chance. Let me share with you my ideas and my thought, my feedback, and then we can go back and forth. Hey, you know, I don't agree with that because of this. This is what I think. We can at least have a conversation. I can say, okay, I can see your point, right? But I think this is why I'm suggesting it. And it just helps us kind of find common ground. And I think that interrogation feel is really a part of the asking questions. And again, going through steps 1 through 10 versus starting at step 6.
Yep, for sure.
It's like we got to do this together. Hostility without reason causes a breakdown in many people's decisions and deals, right? Like we've gone, you know, into a world where a lot of people are really defensive right out of the gate, I feel like. And unfortunately, there's a lot of closed-minded discussions that take place where our beliefs, our thoughts, our knowledge is final. And it can't be. You know, when you're making decisions on big projects or purchases, you know, you have to kind of be open and listen to what the person who's selling it daily is thinking.
Right.
Right. And, you know, the more you open, you know, your mind to that, or, you know, we've got a phrase, obviously, in my house. I always tell my boys, we listen with our ears, not our mouths.
I thought it was buy your second machine the first time.
That's our shop saver motto.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
I don't tell my kids that. But no, in my house, I do. I say that to my boys a lot because I coach my kids, and sometimes they do a lot of talking during, you know, different things that we're working on, you know, whether it be a skills thing or I'm explaining how to do something, and they want to talk the whole time. And I have to remind them, sometimes we listen with our ears, not with our mouths, you know, and it makes them, you know, take a step back and realize like Dad wants me to listen right now. And sometimes I think as an adult, I have to remind myself of that too. Even though you have a lot to say sometimes it's best to say nothing and just listen to what's being said to you. And then when it's all said and done, you can go, okay, here's what I'm thinking. And you just provide that feedback. And I'm guilty of it. I mean, I think all of us are. We get a million things going on in our life. We're trying to accomplish 10 things at one time. And so you try to multitask. And sometimes you have to take a step back and realize there's certain projects you just can't multitask your way through. You have to take the time to learn about it and ask questions and just put your full focus into that. And if you don't have the time now to do that, set a time when that works so you can do it. Because I think that's the number one mistake that I see from people when they're buying products is that they try to rush through decisions. And they're not willing to take the time to sit down and ask questions or understand the questions and go through it because, I got 15 minutes between these meetings and I got to get this done.
Yep.
Maybe that's not the best time to start this discussion. It's one thing to finish a discussion, 15 minutes, right? Like we've already been talking for 6 months and now I need to make a decision. Okay, we can probably accomplish that maybe in 15 minutes. But if I'm just thinking about adding a piece of equipment or technology or software or whatever you're doing to your business, if you can't dedicate the time to the decision-making process, you're probably going to leave yourself with something to be desired. Agreed?
Yeah.
It does happen.
Miss out on an option or a feature or something you didn't know
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's a sales guy's job to help you. But part of sales, is it not to help the customer fit their time frame?
Right.
So if you tell me I have 15 minutes,
I'm going to take 15 minutes.
I'm going to take 15 minutes. Exactly. So I'm not going to go through every option and explain the benefits and the features because you didn't give me the time to do that. I'm going to tell you the options that exist and you tell me what you need.
Nor did you ask for my recommendation.
Correct. You know, we've gone into that world where, again, we have to not be so defensive, right? You know, it's understanding both points of view and going through things and asking questions in the CNC world. You know, it can be extremely beneficial in my opinion, you know, and explaining your thoughts on something or explaining why you're asking a question can make all the difference. And, I didn't think about that, right? How many times have you guys said that to somebody? You've told them something and explained to them why it works that way, and then it changes their way that they thought about something.
Yep.
Every day.
You know, and, why do you guys think asking questions when it comes to this industry is so important?
Because there are so many different options, features, benefits, machine sizes that nobody's an expert. Even Router Bob himself with 35 plus
Yep.
years still asks questions and has to rely on people. And, there's a ton of stuff in this industry. Travis, you're up.
Well, I was actually going to say it earlier, and I'll say it now. Is like even me doing this 6 years, I got a lot of questions. There's a lot of things that if a customer asks me, and I've never been asked this, like, I don't know, actually. I'll have to just, talk to somebody else, and I'll get the answer for you, but I'm not going to try to BS my way through it.
I think that's the worst thing you can do is make up an answer.
For sure. Because the worst part is, and I learned this early on in my time here, a lot of times these customers are tricking you. They do know what the answer should be. You give them a false answer, and it's like, oh, man, I guess I didn't know it as well as I thought. I'll be honest. I'll own up to it. It happened to me. Never do it again. I'll tell them straight up, I don't know the answer, but I will get you the answer correctly.
Exactly.
And I think that holds more weight with a customer
100%.
instead of just saying, something that
Absolutely.
isn't the truth.
They'll respect you way
Heck,
more by
if
saying,
you tell
I
them,
don't
hey,
know.
let me call you back in 5 minutes once
Yep.
I have the real answer, they're going to totally
Absolutely.
respect and appreciate that more than just
Absolutely.
being told some line.
Well, exactly. And that, like you said, Chad, I think the CNC world is very large, right? And there are many pieces to this technology. We could literally do an hour-long episode on vacuum pumps. We could do an hour-long episode on spindles. Like, you think about just pick a component on the machine and we could talk an hour on that easily, right? And so, there's so many pieces of technology and many ways to do the same thing, but doesn't mean they're all right. And that's the thing is, like, there's a right pump and a right spindle and a right this and a right that for your application. And does that mean you can do it a different way? Absolutely. But is it going to be efficient?
Not as much as a vacuum.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's so many better ways to do it, and it's many companies act like their way is the only way to do it. However, there are many things that you can look at, again, the horsepower in the spindles, the manufacture of the spindle, the technology of the spindle, how it's cooled, vacuum pumps, the styles, the horsepower, the ratings. There's a million things that we could talk about. The technology, drive systems, ball screw versus rack and pinion. I mean, that's a huge question that comes up. But a lot of times companies, whatever they're selling you is the gold, right? That's the only way we do it. That's the answer. But the reality is it's not. They're going to sell you what they're going to sell you. They're not going to tell you to go buy something else. 90% of these commission-driven sales teams, that guy makes no money by sending you somewhere else.
Right.
So if they can only sell you one product or one way, can they really talk about how the other way is done and why it's beneficial?
No.
They're giving you opinions versus facts.
Correct.
Well,
And
no experience.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. You can't tell me that this technology is better than that technology if you don't sell both technologies. In my opinion. I mean,
We sell rack and pinion and ball screw.
and that's it. I was just going to say, that's why we sell multiple different products, because there isn't, if ball screw was right for everything, why would we have any rack and pinion machines at all? There's a price point that rack and pinion fits into, right?
Yep.
There's a performance that rack and pinion fits into. But obviously, as you scale up in our products, we have a different drive technology because, again, rack and pinion doesn't fit everything. Otherwise, again, why would we have ball screw machines? There's no reason for it if the rack and pinion could do everything the ball screw could. We choose different technologies based on budgets, capabilities, whatever you're looking for. And that doesn't mean that there isn't really good rack and pinion machines out there. That doesn't mean there's not really good ball screw machines out there. They both have a place in this world. But you get some sales guys that are just so hung up on, you can only do it with rack and pinion. Can't do it with ball screw. Okay? What ball screw machine do you sell? Well, we don't sell ball screw. Well, of course you're going to tell me I can't do it with ball screw then.
Can't offer it to
And there's
me.
some ball screw machine companies out there you can't do it with rack and pinion. Can't? Maybe it's not the most efficient way of doing it, but I bet I can do it. Just got to take into consideration what it is, So, purchases and decisions made without question tend to leave unturned stones and leave you at risk for failures. And honestly, it's going to be much higher later on in terms of, the failure rate. You tend to find that out after it's too late to ask the question, do you not?
Yep.
Are you asking questions to your customers? Let me ask you that. Anybody listening? If you're sitting there talking about your business, do you ask your customers questions? I bet you do. I bet every person listening to this podcast right now asks questions to their customers, the people they do business with.
You got to figure out what they want.
Yeah. You want to understand because you don't want to sell them the wrong thing either.
Are you going to build a sign if you don't know what they're envisioning for it?
Yep.
Or kitchen cabinets? What are you just going to, I need kitchen cabinets. You're going to walk in there and design the whole thing yourself and say, here's your option.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing is you have to consider that there's different hardware, different materials. There's so many things. Like, as an example, my buddy Zach Madrid, he builds race cars, and we were talking about different features and different things on race cars, and one thing he said to me was, hey, are you going to do this or this? Like, are you going to use the car on short tracks, big tracks? Like, even in building a race car, there was questions that had to be asked. Like, are all the race cars built the same? They're very similar, right?
Are all snowmobiles built the same?
Oh boy.
Oh, here we go.
Some are for mountains and the others are for ditches.
But it's the truth, though. It's what you have to think about. Like, everything in the world. Like I said, my buddy Zach builds race cars, but he still asks. I have a race car, but when he's working on my stuff, he asks me, "Are you going to do this or this?" Like, he doesn't just answer the question. Like, I've asked him so many times, like, "Hey, should I run this spring or run that spring?" And he's like, "Well, wait a second. Are you doing this or that?" Like, he can't just answer the question. Even though he knows me, knows how to build race cars, he's not going to just give me an answer.
Because it could be dependent on the track you're running that week. Or,
Yeah, like I said, big track, short track. There's so many questions there. I want you to think about that because that's a friend of mine who builds something that I know quite a bit about. Now you're trying to run into a conversation about a CNC machine and you don't expect somebody to ask you questions. Like, I'm asking him something so simple and you're trying to build a company around something or build your business around something. You aren't being asked questions on how you're doing it, why you're doing it, what you're cutting. Like, I'd be more concerned about the guy that didn't ask me questions. Right?
Absolutely.
For sure.
What things in your life have you guys bought? Is there something in your life? Let's start there. Is there something you guys have bought in your life that you didn't ask questions on and now you wish you had?
Oh, I'm going to have to think about that for a second. Come back to me.
Coming back to Chad. Any of you guys? You got anything?
Wi-Fi router. You were talking about it. I didn't ask any questions. All I did is I went on Amazon.
Yep.
I went on Amazon's top rated.
Yep.
Fortunately, it fit what I needed, but
Yep.
little did I realize that I could have made a big mistake because you need to know how many items are running off it. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because you had your conversation about when you went and got yours. I talked to my internet company because I told them, I was like, your internet's garbage. Like, what the hell is wrong with it?
It's got to
I'm
be the
paying-
internet's fault.
That's just it. I took it to them and was like, I'm paying X amount of dollars for this internet and it doesn't work. They're like, well, are you using our router or your router? I'm like, my router. They're like, okay, what kind of router? And this lady, luckily, was really nice, told me everything. She's like, your router's garbage. Like, this thing is from the early 2000s, and you have 12 devices running off it, and it can only support on max capacity 5. And I'm like, well, that's why. It's choosing what item is getting the internet when it needs it the
It's
most,
cycling
and
it.
it doesn't allow it. So when I bought my one that I had now, again, I didn't ask questions. I was just like, oh, this one's got 4 antennas on it. Like, same thing. This thing looks pretty prestigious.
Mine's black and has 3 antennas. That's all I know.
I got lucky. But again, there's a lot that you should ask. I should have asked questions there.
Yeah.
For me, the one that sticks out is the first time I ever bought a camera. I do a lot of photography, but when I bought the camera, it was
Nick Peters Photography for anybody who wants to check it out.
Chad at shopsaver.com.
But no, like we bought the camera. I had never done anything with photography before. We bought a camera because we were going to be having a baby, and we're like, oh, let's just have a decent camera to take pictures of the baby with, whatever. And not knowing.
Seems like a logical
that-
decision. We're having a baby. We need a camera.
Yeah,
I like it.
Was it disposable?
No, it actually wasn't.
We're still talking about the camera, right?
Not the kid. Yeah. No, but like had I known that I was going to go down, this route of a hobby, I would have asked questions on what this camera
Correct.
could have been
Yeah.
used for besides just, buying something to just buy it.
But you went into it with the idea of, I just needed this to take pictures of my kid.
As 0 questions, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this will work. I looked up online and did some research online, but I'm like, oh, this one will work. I'll go grab it. But come to find out what I wanted to use it for later, what it turned into, couldn't be used with certain lenses or whatever. And
Yeah.
ended up going and spending more money buying a new one, which I could have spent on lenses or whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's, perfect example of ask questions to find out what you might end up using it for down the road.
So you ended up having to buy 2 products essentially.
Yep.
Simply because you didn't ask the questions.
Correct.
You could have ended up with that same camera the first time and been money ahead.
Yep, for sure.
And yeah, I'm willing to bet here, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, that the second camera costs more than the first camera.
By a lot. Yep.
Yeah. And so it's like, you ended up spending the same amount of money,
Yep.
but just did it twice now.
And could have just bought the first one the first time and then used the extra money I spent on the first camera to buy.
Would you
different
say
lenses
you
or
could have
something.
bought your second camera the first time? 100%. You could have said.
Yep.
That's a saying in the Bombardo household.
We say about everything. Just anything. Hey, Caden, is that the second bag of chips you've had today? Yeah, Dad. I didn't like the other ones. Oh, you could have had your second bag of chips the first time.
Works out pretty well.
It works out good, actually. We use it on everything.
And then he turns the internet off.
That's the internet. You're punished now.
Go play outside.
You know where those chips came from? What about you, Chad? Anything that you've bought?
I mean, nothing.
He's like, no, I'm
anything,
perfect.
Well, anything big, I'm going to ask questions
Yeah.
on. all the little stuff
ShopSaber.com.
there you go.
I had to do it. Sorry.
All the little stuff that I buy off Amazon, if it's supposed to be like a certain size, I always seem to get it wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like
That's funny. I do too. I
I'm gonna
swear.
get these bags, and then you get the bags, and they're for like coins.
Yeah.
It's like I thought these were full size bags. I bought a pan to make lasagna, and it's the same size as the one I got, and I wanted the one bigger. But it's like,
That's funny.
but there's nobody to ask questions to. It's
Yeah.
not like I call up Amazon and say I'm looking for a new baking dish.
You know what's
Can
funny?
you make sure it's larger than the one I have now?
That's funny, Chad. I got in my truck yesterday. I had to drive to a hockey game. My truck started beeping at me. And I looked at the screen and it said, change batteries in fob. And I went, what the heck? It's going dead. Who'd I ask questions to, Chad?
Was it the right one?
It was. I don't know. I don't know yet. I ordered off Amazon. I ordered what you told me to.
Well, the jury's out on this one.
So I text Chad right away because I'm notorious the guy that gets the wrong battery every time. And Chad is always the guy that's like, yo, you needed the D447. Like, can't believe you didn't know that. You know, like he just knows it. So I literally text him as I'm going down the road. Siri, text Chad. Oh, my phone just tried to text
Yeah, I
Chad. Sorry, Chad. Yep, sorry. My phone just started trying to go off. And then I said, hey, Chad, what battery do I need for this vehicle? And Chad texts back like 2 minutes later, the blah, 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 whatever numbers. I literally put that into Amazon when I got to the rink, hit buy now. Bought a 6-pack for $6. Done.
But you asked the questions.
We'll see if they're right.
Well, we'll find out how right Chad was. But I mean, it was one of those things where like, I feel like every time I go on Amazon, I just order something random. I'm always wrong. And then I end up with $6 worth of batteries I don't ever use because I have nothing in my house that takes them.
But you did your due diligence though. So if Chad gave you the wrong answer,
Yeah.
that's on him.
It's really on the
You did your
professional.
part.
Yeah, it's really on his
I
fault.
literally did the same thing this weekend. It's funny that we're talking about this now. So I see all these trucks that have those cool like sequential light bars underneath the tailgates. I'm like, I'm gonna get one of these things, right? So I bought it.
Those are cool.
Ordered it, and it says commonly bought with, right? So you get the 4-prong.
Was it a purse?
No, the 4-prong splitter.
No, only
you
when
need
you
the-
put Dodge
you need
pickup
a
in.
splitter, right? So you can plug this in plus your trailers.
Yep.
Well, so it says, commonly bought with. So I just bought it.
Yep.
Well, I got the damn thing. It's not even close to what I need. Luckily, it was only $6, but I got to go spend $28 now for the actual plug and play wiring that has the splitter on it. But yeah, didn't ask any questions. I just thought it looked cool, went and bought it, and also found out that where I want to mount it on the new truck that I have has like little dimples in the metal now. So now I have to like come up with a way to like make it flat and then stick it to it. So
We have a CNC router. We can route something out.
I actually was thinking about that, like just a
Yeah.
thin, long piece of plastic that I
Yeah,
can
no problem.
screw into the back of the truck and then just layer it right on top of it.
Yeah, no problem. I charge $125 an hour, and we can make that happen.
Hey, Chad, what are you charging?
I was thinking this is at least 8, 9, 10,000.
I guess that's a common thing. Nobody can afford Chad.
But no, honestly, don't be afraid to not be the expert in the room. I think that's one thing we can all say is that you don't always want to be the smartest person in the room. You learn more by asking questions and learning from others' experiences, and rather than trying to figure it out all on your own. Sometimes obviously there's certain things you're going to have to figure out on your own. But I think in today's world, the technology that we have to Google search things and ask people questions and social media and all these things that like you're a fool not to at least ask a question. Take somebody's advice, because there's been times when I'm thinking about buying something and I put it on the internet and I'm like, hey guys, any of my friends or family have experience with this product? And I've had people tell me like, do not do that. Like I did it. Here's my bad, the bad story that had happened. And I understand it. I'm like, okay, well, I'm glad I didn't do that. That would have been just money out of my pocket. And it's just so easy to ask questions. And sometimes it's just nice to be able to talk to a salesperson and say, hey, the world's going to this automation thing everywhere now. And I can't say I don't like it in some regards of my life. But sometimes, I just want a person I can call. I want to ask the question. And, fortunately, we still have that, right? We still have professionals here.
ShopSaber.com.
They'll let you ask the questions. They'll go through it with you. So I can't help you with every part of your business, but if you're looking at CNC automation, I mean, right, guys?
I can help. My name's Chad. I work at ShopSaver. You can email me at chad@shopsaver.com.
or you can email travis@shopsaber.com.
We're coming to the end of the first quarter, so we have some pretty awesome incentives coming. So don't hesitate to reach out
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
true. Crazy for end of the first quarter.
already. Huh?
Nuts.
Seemed like we just ended last year.
I know. That's I was just thinking too. We're already a quarter of the way through this year.
It's insane.
Also, be sure and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. I think I covered
MySpace?
them all.
MySpace still?
We can't forget MySpace.
MySpace.
Wait, what?
We can't forget MySpace.
Oh, we do have MySpace now.
Yeah.
We have a MySpace. Tom's our friend. Hey, by the way, did Tom ever beat you up last week after making fun of him?
Wait, what?
You made fun of Tom last week.
Oh, no. Nobody said a word.
Tom didn't beat you up?
Thank God he didn't meet me in the parking lot. I would have went in fetal position.
Travis hasn't logged into his MySpace since 07.
It's true. He made fun of Tom last week, and then I went downstairs and told Tom, listen to the podcast.
Oh,
Big Tom.
Oh,
Tom.
Yeah, the guy that works here.
Yeah.
Well, let's get him riled up. I'll throw a reminder down there.
Yeah, I told Tom.
I thought we were talking about like MySpace Tom.
No, MySpace Tom.
Not
Tom
like-
downstairs.
not big,
Bodybuilder Tom.
Yeah, not Big Tom who's gonna smash you.
Yeah, bodybuilder Tom. But with that, we're going to hopefully get, Tom riled up, and Travis won't be here next week. So I'm Brandon.
I'm Chad.
I'm Travis.
I'm Nick.
I'm Kyle.
Thanks for talking shop with ShopSaver.